It's Friday, and I've got my wolf shirt on. It's so quiet in here too because it snowed this morning. It is the first snowfall of the winter, November 29th. And a lot of people probably don't have their summer tires on, I'm guessing, or their winter tires. They still have their summer tires on. So therefore, they couldn't come to the gym this morning. So hopefully, hopefully they're coming later. I don't want to just assume that they're skipping it altogether. I increased my weight by 45 pounds. That's insane. I usually do 15 reps on these, but today we're going a little heavier for some lower reps, just to change up the stimulation. Once you've gotten a pump, your legs will look way worse. All of the muscle fibers are like squeezing together and gets rid of all of that definition in between the legs. So the further into the leg workout, the worse my legs look. I think that goes for everybody, but we're only a few sets in, so they're not bad. But pretty soon this line will be gone mid-workout. Whoops. Sometimes on Fridays it's hard to go 100% and give the workout your all when your brain's sort of in this, it's almost the weekend zone. But if I could give you one piece of advice, it's not just about showing up. Everybody always says consistency is the key, but it's not necessarily just consistency that drives results. It's how often are you not only just showing up, but pushing as hard as you possibly can go every single time that you're here, right? Because I think there's a lot of people that come to the gym. They come and go, they're here, they show up, never miss a day, but nothing changes, right? Your body's at this baseline, and it's super used to everything that you're doing, the intensity that you bring. So you've got to level that up every time that you're here. And it's about effort. It's about going hard when you don't want to go hard. And that is where results are truly made. So it's kind of scratch consistency. If you're consistent, that's not going to bring any change at all. It's got to be how consistently do you train hard. Push the intensity, push the volume, pick new weights that you maybe are a little bit intimidated by. Those are the moments that are really going to, cause change within your body to get to a new place that you've never been, right? So to look in a certain way that you've never looked before, you've got to train in a way that you've never trained before. And I think that gets overlooked, right? We just kind of preach consistency because, the average person struggles with just getting here, but you're not average, so you've already gotten past that stage. Now it's time to level up. Even I get caught in those little, just stuck in the I'm happy with the fact that I made it type of zone. That's fine and dandy, but eventually you're going to be wondering, a year later, why do I look the same? One more set of those. What's the matter, bud? What do you have to say? Okay, the gym is complete. And now it is time to do some work. I have a little bit of online client work to do. Then I have 3 personal training sessions to do and some editing and some content posting and a couple of clients to get ready for Monday online. And that is my Friday. Pretty much a full day of work today. Yes, sir. Can I help you? Yes, I'll pet you. I'll pet you. And that is my day. But basically, what I wanted to do in today's video is I wanted to roll off of what I was saying at the gym. And similar to last week's video where I did like the whole whiteboard breakdown type thing about protein, I'm going to do the same thing again about training to failure. So a little bit of a master class on my take on what training to failure really is. And kind of not just training to failure, but like progressive overload, training intensity as a whole. And this guy here is very needy this morning, aren't you? But you're doing all right. This is Buster. He's usually not this needy, which is kind of weird. Maybe it's the first snowfall. I don't know if this is good or not, but it's 10:30 a.m. and this is coffee number 2. And then I had one of those little teeny Red Bulls. And then I also had a scoop of non-stim pre-workout. So there was no caffeine in the pre-workout. It was just pump-based. It was Pump Addict by Believe. So I don't necessarily know how much caffeine is in these coffees. And like they're like the Starbucks dark roast Keurig pods. So could be a lot. Could be not. I guess we'll never know. Mic drop. You can't beat peanut butter, strawberry jam on toast. I had the usual for breakfast. 2 eggs, 1 cup of egg whites, a whole avocado cut up on top of the eggs with some spicy mayo on top of all that. A cup of blueberries, 2 slices of toast with natural peanut butter and strawberry jelly, no sugar added jelly. Jelly or jam. That was breakfast. Too bad you didn't get to see it. You probably don't care. Today's discussion. Training to failure. Are you training to failure? What we're going to talk about, and we're going to define today what exactly training to failure is and how important is it in your training and how to go about achieving training to failure. I look at the internet and I see bros being like, everyone thinks they train to failure, but they don't actually reach muscular failure. They don't know. Okay? We got to look at things from a little bit of a different perspective. Training to failure is going to look different depending on where you're at, whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, and sort of where you're at in the progression of your training. I think there's different modes of reaching failure that we need to look at. But let's look at what are the most important things about our training, right? Right here I've written A, training consistency. Training consistently on a weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis, consistently doing something that our body recognizes is what is going to create change. But it's not that simple because there are a lot of people who go to the gym every single week, 4 or 5 days a week, and they never miss. But they stay the same because they're too focused on just getting to the gym. They're just focused on getting the workouts done. But we need to focus on training effort consistency, right? How hard are you training each and every time you walk into the gym, right? You might have went to the gym 30 times this month, but maybe only 2 of them you actually pushed yourself beyond what you're currently capable of. Maybe you only push yourself when you're with a partner. Maybe you only push yourself when you take pre-workout. Because if you always do what you've always done, and what your body is used to within your training, there's not going to be any change. So it's not just consistency. How often are you pushing yourself? And that level of effort that you put in also has to be progressive because you put in a certain amount of effort, you've gained some muscle, right? To gain more muscle, you now have to put in more effort. There are levels
that need to be looked at in order to continue on progressing. So this is why training to failure kind of gets a little bit complicated, because some people might be thinking, well, I always train to the point where I can't get another rep, right? So let's look at what training to failure actually is. But before we do that, I also want to talk about training intensity and how do we actually gauge how intense our training sessions are. This is sort of the old school method of figuring out how intense a session is, or even how intense a singular set within your session is the RPE scale, which is your rate of perceived exertion. So this is how hard you perceived a given set to be, right? How hard have you pushed yourself? And typically that RPE scale is out of 10. So it's like kind of rating your gym crush out of 10. How hot is she? Just because a set was hard doesn't mean that you've pushed yourself to the point where you physically can't get any more, right? Again, this is why cardio is actually very, very important, because it helps you increase your endurance. On exercises like squats, deadlifts, lunges, exercises that take a lot of effort, oftentimes you can run out of steam, run out of gas before you've actually given all the reps that you can give. So the rate of perceived exertion, the RPE scale, doesn't help you get to the point of realizing if you've reached failure. But this is why nowadays more people are using the reps in reserve, which is the RIR scale. How many more reps do you have left in the tank to give? That is much better, right? And you might consider a rep to be full range of motion with good form, right? How many did I have left? That is also going to dictate whether you should go up in weight or whether maybe you should even go down in weight. More advanced lifters are going to be better at gauging how many reps left they have in reserve based on how the last rep of your set felt. Now we can get into what is failure, right? Because some people like to take things to the extreme because they're more hardcore than you. The more hardcore than your sister, the more hardcore than your friends. They are more hardcore than you will ever be because they're better at everything than you. That's just how some people are. So I have divided failure into two different modes, level 1 and level 2. Level 1 is a good place for most people to be, right? So level 1 is essentially just using your form, so proper technique throughout your reps, and then also whether you're able to get full range of motion or not. Can you complete a full rep? If you can't perform another rep with full range of motion or with good form or both, then you set the weight down. You have reached a point of which you don't feel comfortable doing another one because you can't physically get one to your standards, right? So level 1 is sort of holding a higher standard for what you think is a quality rep, right? But that doesn't mean that the muscle isn't possible of doing a little bit more, right? That's why it's level 1, because there's still more that your muscle has to offer. This is when we start introducing advanced techniques like drop sets, which a drop set is when you have reached this first form of failure. You can't get a quality rep with form, you can't reach full range of motion, so you drop the weight, you pick up a lighter weight, and you continue on performing more reps until you can't do any more again. That is a drop set, right? So that's pushing beyond the level of this level 1 failure range. Then we have forced reps, right? This is what you usually do with a spotter. So it's very similar to a drop set. It's basically what a drop set is, because your spotter, once you have reached failure with good form, you can't get full range of motion, your spotter comes in and lightens the load a little bit for you and helps you perform a few more reps, or maybe even upwards to 10 more reps. And the bonus to doing forced reps with a spotter versus a drop set is a drop set you have to set the weight down, grab lighter weights, so you get about a 10-second rest between that, the switch, right? So you get a little bit of a rest. With the forced reps, the spotter, it's continuous. And then we've got the eccentric. So one thing you have to remember is that there's the concentric portion of a rep, so that's when we're doing a bicep curl, that's pulling up, and then there's the eccentric, which is the muscle is lengthening. The muscle is lowering the weight back down, it's stretching back out. The eccentric portion of a rep is always stronger than the concentric portion, right? So this is where, again, you can have a spotter pull the weight back up for you. Or with the bicep curls, if you're by yourself, you can kind of like cheat and like swing it up and then control that negative all the way down, because the eccentric part of the rep still has more effort to be given. Now we also got partials. Partials are your full range of motion definitely is not there anymore, but you're still willing to give it a little more to get some half reps, maybe even some quarter reps. All of these methods are going beyond level 1. So level 1 is beginners or advanced lifters in the early stages of their new training program, right? That's a very great place to start. Beginners are gonna wanna work up to that point where they're reaching failure at this level. Then they can start adding in some of these techniques to push themselves even further, right? So there has to be a progression to this. So that's why I wanted to break this video down into what is failure, because most people are gonna say this is failure, right? And it is. It really is. If you care about form and full range of motion, which is important, that's failure, right? You've failed at doing quality reps. But when we're talking about true muscular failure and true effort of what your muscles have to give, we're talking about this level 2. And there are much more methods to reach that than this. But essentially, what I've concluded failure is that failure is pushing your body to a level of intensity it is not currently capable of, right? So it depends on where you're at right now. So I wrote at the bottom here, this gives your body a stimulus that forces a need for change, right? When your body recognizes a stimulus or a stressor that is not normal, and eventually that becomes a pattern for you every single week, every single workout, your body needs to do something about it. And we're hoping that your body's response is more muscle tissue, right? And usually that's the response. It's a lot slower than most people think. This is why you have to be consistent with a high effort, right? That effort that is new to your body needs to be consistent, needs to be constant. And then eventually your body is going to pack on new muscle tissue for the sole purpose of preventing whatever that stimulus is from causing any damage. The ones who are willing to go beyond are gonna see much more results than the ones who are just so keen on form. If you continue to train like you've always trained, you're gonna get what you've always got, okay? All right, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this video helped you out. Maybe you learned something. I just hope that in your next workout, you push yourself a little bit harder, but I will see you guys next week. And thank you for tuning in. Peace.